You think you are just eating a chocolate bar. Wrong. That crisp, satisfying snap and the hardcore hidden inside are actually a meticulously calculated century-old biotechnology trap. And it is designed with one single purpose: to hijack your brain and empty your wallet before you even realize what hit you. Today happens to be July 8th, which means it is officially National Chocolate with Almonds Day. Yes, an entire 24-hour period legally and culturally dedicated to celebrating a flavor combination that commands a staggering multi-billion-dollar slice of the global sweet market. If you are under the comforting illusion that your profound love for this dynamic culinary duo is just a matter of personal preference or an innocent craving, well, you're about to experience a massive, reality-shattering awakening. The bizarre truth holding these two ingredients together involves deep botanical deception, high-stakes international military logistics, and an annual biological mobilization so spectacularly massive it forces billions of living creatures to migrate across the continent. Oh, and let us not forget a hidden chemical synergy that borders on pure neurochemical wizardry. To properly understand how this trap functions, we have to completely dismantle your basic understanding of everyday reality. Like, practically everything you think you know about your favorite crunchy snack is an absolute, unadulterated lie. When you look at a beautiful, rustic, teardrop-shaped almond resting in the palm of your hand, you naturally classify it as a nut without a single second thought. Well, you are entirely incorrect, and you have essentially been living a beautifully packaged botanical lie your entire life. In the strict, unyielding taxonomy of scientific botany, almonds are absolutely not nuts under any circumstances. They're actually classified as drupes, which means, they're the exact genetic cousin of a juicy summer peach, a sweet plum, or a soft, fuzzy apricot. To visualize this madness, think about a standard peach for a moment. You joyfully sink your teeth into the sweet, vibrant flesh on the outside, and then you casually toss away the hard, woody, wrinkled pit left in the dead center because it tastes like a piece of ancient lumber. Now imagine if an agricultural mad scientist decided to take that incredibly hard, useless peach pit, smash it wide open with a heavy iron hammer, and eat the tiny, pale, concentrated seed hiding deep inside that dark wooden chamber. Aha! That exact seed is precisely what an almond is. You've never actually eaten an almond nut. You're eating the hidden inner embryo of a weird evolutionary dry fruit that decided to grow a reinforced wooden fortress around its offspring to protect them from the harsh realities of nature. The entire global snack infrastructure is fundamentally a colossal, highly coordinated marketing operation designed to sell you fruit pits disguised as crunchy nuggets. And you've been handing them your hard-earned cash for decades without ever questioning the matrix. Now take this identity-conflicted fruit seed and imagine throwing it directly into a hot, swirling, intoxicating bath of liquid chocolate, which is another ancient substance with a dark, deeply chaotic, and heavily militarized history long before it ever became a comforting supermarket staple. Long before any corporate marketing genius thought about wrapping this legendary duo in a shiny, crinkling plastic wrapper, the ancient Maya and Aztec civilizations were already obsessed with cocoa beans. However, they certainly weren't crafting sweet, velvety, comforting treats to enjoy while relaxing on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Those ancient warriors were completely unhinged by modern standards, treating cocoa not as a dessert, but as a bitter, spicy, intensely stimulating energy drink engineered exclusively for warfare and high-stakes political dominance. They would deliberately mix the crushed beans with fierce chili peppers, thick cornmeal, wild hallucinogenic herbs, and crushed native seeds. They would violently froth this thick, pitch-black liquid from high vessels until a dense, muddy foam formed on top, and then they would chug it down right before marching long distances into bloody battles, or climbing up giant steep stone pyramids to perform terrifying, high-stress rituals. There was absolutely no processed white sugar involved in this ancient recipe, no creamy milk to soften the blow, and certainly no cute, colorful little sprinkles. It was pure, unadulterated chemical stimulation designed to make a warrior's heart race like a highly tuned Formula One engine, flooding their systems with raw endurance and psychological fearlessness. If you could somehow transport yourself back in time and hand a modern, sweet, ultra-smooth milk chocolate almond bar to an elite Aztec warrior, he would likely look at you with total, unmitigated disgust. He would spit the sugary confection onto the dirt and immediately recommend you to the priesthood as a sacrifice for insulting his refined palate with literal baby food. The real historical plot twist occurred when Christopher Columbus sailed across the massive, uncharted Atlantic Ocean, bumped directly into the Americas, and witnessed indigenous traders treating these strange, unassuming brown beans as actual physical currency. Back in that era, you didn't purchase a prized turkey or a handcrafted weapon with gold coins or silver bullion. You bought it with a leather pouch filled to the brim with cocoa beans. This meant that quite literally, wealth grew directly on trees, and the wealthiest people in society were regularly drinking their checking accounts for breakfast. When the Spanish conquerors eventually brought these valuable beans back across the ocean to Europe, they quickly realized that the raw, bitter sludge tasted entirely too much like liquid medicine for the delicate European nobility. To fix this, they initiated a massive, historic culinary intervention. They dumped mountain loads of expensive white cane sugar into the boiling pots, completely banished the spicy chili peppers from the recipe, and suddenly the royal courts of Europe went absolutely wild for this newly sweetened dark elixir. Yet, for an incredibly long time, chocolate remained an exclusive, rich man's liquid luxury. It was a status symbol that you slowly sipped from a delicate, hand-painted porcelain cup while wearing a giant, powdered white wig and discussing high-stakes continental politics in a plush drawing room. Absolutely nobody had conceptualized the idea of solidifying this precious liquid into a portable, solid bar, and certainly nobody had thought about shoving crunchy fruit picks into it yet. That all changed when the relentless gears of the Industrial Revolution slammed into the globe, and a wave of daring inventors began building massive steam-powered iron machines designed to crush cocoa beans into submission on a factory scale. Enter a man named Milton Hershey, an eccentric, incredibly stubborn candy maker from rural Pennsylvania who had failed completely in his first 3 consecutive business ventures. I mean, he lost almost every single dollar to his name and was constantly laughed at by his peers as a hopeless dreamer. But instead of giving up, throwing in the towel, and securing a normal, predictable day job, he became completely obsessed with a single, highly specific goal. He wanted to create a cheap, mass-produced milk chocolate bar that could survive intact inside a hard-working industrial laborer's pocket without melting into a tragic puddle of brown goo. In the year 1908, after thousands of frustrating failed experiments with spoiled milk, separated fats, and burnt sugar, well, he finally cracked the industrial formula. To elevate his creation to the next level, he decided to drop heavily roasted almonds directly into the swirling chocolate mix, creating a revolutionary product that would completely and permanently reshape the global candy landscape. The legendary modern chocolate almond bar was born. And you know, it was far more than just a sweet treat for the working class. It was a high-calorie, shelf-stable logistical miracle that could be packed into wooden crates and shipped thousands of miles across the country without spoiling or losing its structural integrity. When the catastrophic fires of World War I broke out across the European continent, the United States military brass quickly realized something critical. They realized that modern, mechanized warfare required an insane, unprecedented amount of highly portable energy. Soldiers crouching in muddy, freezing trenches could not exactly carry hot bowls of fresh soup or heavy rations into the heat of battle. So, the government began looking for highly dense, durable foods, and when they evaluated these hard, resilient chocolate almond bars, they realized they were staring at the ultimate tactical ration. Look, every single American soldier heading overseas was handed these specialized candy bars as a fundamental part of their gear. The bars were packed with dense, slow-burning fats from the natural cocoa butter and massive amounts of sustained muscle-building protein from the embedded roasted almonds. It was a literal survival tool that kept men alert and alive when standard supply lines were completely blown to pieces by enemy artillery fire. This means that when you indulge your sweet tooth on July 8th, you're not just eating junk food. Aha, you are actively consuming a historic, military-grade artifact that seasoned generals once prized above actual ammunition. But why exactly does this specific combination work so flawlessly on a deep neurochemical level? Why does your brain completely melt with primal pleasure the exact second you bite into a piece of chocolate-covered almond? The answer lies in a brilliant piece of sensory engineering known in the modern food industry as the dynamic contrast effect. And this is essentially a psychological trap that the human mind is evolutionarily incapable of escaping. Your tongue is an incredibly sophisticated, highly sensitive sensory organ that gets bored remarkably easily if it encounters the same uniform texture for more than 3 consecutive seconds. If you eat a piece of plain, unadorned chocolate, it is undeniably smooth and creamy, melting into a single uniform liquid very quickly. While that is a pleasant experience, your brain quickly registers it as a predictable, low-priority sensory event. But the exact microsecond you introduce a perfectly roasted almond into that equation, boom, a massive, chaotic explosion of neural data occurs in your nervous system because your teeth suddenly collide with a hard, resistance-heavy barrier. This structural interference creates a spectacular, high-contrast collision inside your mouth between the velvety, slow-melting sensation of the premium cocoa butter and the sharp, shattering, delightfully loud crunch of the fruit seed. Your brain immediately releases a massive, frantic wave of dopamine because the human mind inherently loves unpredictability, structural variation, and acoustic feedback. It turns each individual chew into a miniature, high-stakes roller coaster ride for your palate. Simultaneously, there is a hidden, highly complex temperature game happening inside your oral cavity because cocoa butter possesses a truly miraculous physical property. It is one of the only natural fats in the entire universe that remains perfectly solid and rigid at a standard room temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, but melts completely and fluidly at exactly 37 degrees Celsius. Now, that number happens to be the exact internal temperature of the healthy human body. This means chocolate is quite literally engineered by the laws of nature to transform from a solid structural brick into a rich, flowing river the exact moment it comes into contact with your tongue. When you wrap that rapidly melting river around a dry, highly porous roasted almond, the almond acts like a biological sponge. It absorbs the rich liquid fat and delivers an incredibly intense, hyper-concentrated burst of flavor directly to your taste buds. Beyond the physical textures, there is a deep, profound chemical synergy happening underneath the surface of your biology involving the natural, highly effective stimulants hidden inside these 2 ingredients. Cocoa beans are naturally packed with a strange, highly effective stimulant known as theobromine, which is a structural chemical cousin of caffeine. However, unlike caffeine, which hits your central nervous system like a violent bolt of lightning and then drops you into a miserable, shaking state of exhaustion, theobromine operates differently. It gently dilates your blood vessels, relaxes your smooth muscles, and coaxes your heart into a steady, lingering, highly sustainable energy curve that provides a long-lasting elevation of both mood and cognitive focus. At the exact same time, almonds are naturally loaded with an essential amino acid called tyrosine, and that happens to be the direct chemical building block that your brain relies upon to manufacture dopamine, the ultimate neurotransmitter responsible for motivation, reward, and pleasure. When you consume them in tandem, you are not merely eating an afternoon snack. You are performing a crude, highly effective form of organic neurochemical wizardry. You are flooding your brain with the raw construction materials it needs to feel happy, while simultaneously opening up your cardiovascular highway to accelerate the absorption of those very chemicals into your system. This brings us directly to the ultimate modern comedy that unfolds every single year when people attempt to use this specific holiday as a clever excuse to be healthy. If you spend even 5 minutes searching the internet for the documented medical benefits of raw almonds, you will be hit with a massive, overwhelming list of scientific achievements. I mean, it makes this little seed look like a magical healing potion from a high fantasy video game. Medical doctors will look you dead in the eye with a completely straight face and swear that these little fruit seeds can significantly reduce your risk of a sudden catastrophic heart attack by actively sweeping away the dangerous oxidized plaque building up inside your cardiovascular system. They will testify under oath that these little fruit seeds can dramatically lower your low-density lipoprotein, which is the formal scientific designation for the bad cholesterol that gradually clogs up your arterial tubes like old hardened grease in a commercial kitchen sink. Almonds contain incredibly powerful antioxidants that wrap around your delicate artery walls like a protective cellular shield, preventing them from suffering structural degradation from roaming free radicals. They are packed to absolute capacity with vital minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which help you construct bones and teeth so profoundly strong that you could theoretically chew through a solid wooden table if you truly possess the desire to do so. They provide your body with healthy monounsaturated fats that interact with your hormones to trick your stomach into feeling completely full and satisfied, which, theoretically aids in long-term weight management by preventing you from frantically raiding the refrigerator at 2 o'clock in the morning. They stabilize your blood sugar levels, keeping your insulin from spiking into outer space after you consume a heavy meal, and they deeply nourish your nervous system to improve overall cognitive function. Wow, it sounds like an absolutely flawless masterpiece of nutrition, a literal superfood designed by the gods to transform you into an immortal, sharp-witted specimen with crystal-clear arteries and unbreakable bones. But here lies the ultimate devastating catch, the incredible psychological plot twist that leaves health enthusiasts completely defeated every single time. The vast majority of the population does not celebrate National Chocolate with Almonds Day by carefully consuming a single raw, unsalted almond alongside a bitter square of 99% baker's chocolate. Instead, they joyfully march down to the local convenience store and purchase a massive, family-sized brick of ultra-processed commercial milk chocolate. The kind that contains roughly 300 grams of pure, white, highly refined cane sugar and a tiny, pathetic, symbolic scattering of maybe 3 actual almonds hidden deep within the sugary abyss. You are essentially consuming a mountain of metabolic chaos wrapped in a microscopic decorative sheet of health food, completely and utterly neutralizing every single medical benefit that the poor almond was trying to provide to your organs. Your blood sugar does not stabilize in the slightest. It skyrockets straight into the stratosphere, causing your overworked pancreas to scream in absolute agony as it pumps out emergency waves of insulin to save your internal organs from drowning in a toxic sea of glucose. It is the absolute ultimate manifestation of human denial. A grand psychological circus where we look directly at a high-calorie sugar bomb and confidently convince ourselves that it is perfectly fine for our health because there happens to be a tiny piece of a fruit pit buried inside it. If you want to observe this bizarre holiday without ending up in a metabolic crisis, you have to understand the vastly different tiers of this culinary world, starting with the eternal, bitter battle between traditional milk chocolate and dark chocolate. Milk chocolate is essentially the friendly, popular, superficial kid in school that absolutely everyone loves because it is loaded with heavy powdered milk, extra processed fats, and enough refined sugar to make your teeth ache just by looking at the label. It is undeniably smooth, universally sweet, and engineered to be highly addictive, but it completely and utterly drowns out the natural, rustic, woody, and complex notes of the almond, turning the seed into a mere texture vehicle rather than an equal partner. Dark chocolate, on the other hand, is the grumpy, cynical, deeply sophisticated intellectual of the confectionery world that demands your full, undivided respect and attention. It contains minimal sugar and an incredibly high concentration of pure, unadulterated cocoa solids, which carry an intense, bitter, fruity, and almost smoky flavor profile. When you pair high-quality, high-percentage dark chocolate with a perfectly roasted almond, the natural bitterness of the cocoa slices cleanly through the rich, oily density of the nut. This creates a sophisticated, highly balanced flavor profile where both premium components can actually be tasted and appreciated. But the story becomes even more complicated when we take a close look at how these almonds are actually prepared before they are ever allowed to enter the chocolate matrix. Because raw almonds and roasted almonds are two completely different scientific beasts. A raw almond is soft, slightly chewy, and possesses an incredibly mild, milky, almost sweet flavor that is easily overwhelmed by any other dominant ingredient. A roasted almond, however, has been subjected to the intense, unyielding heat of an industrial oven, triggering a spectacular, complex chemical phenomenon known to food scientists as the Maillard reaction. This is the exact same chemical process that makes a beautifully seared steak taste incredible or turns a pale, sad piece of dough into a crispy, golden brown loaf of fresh bread. The intense heat causes the natural sugars and complex amino acids locked inside the almond to violently fuse together, creating hundreds of entirely new, highly aromatic flavor compounds that simply do not exist in the raw, unroasted seed. It turns the internal color a beautiful dark gold, hardens the internal cellular structure to maximize the acoustic volume of the crunch, and releases a deep, smoky, nutty aroma that can punch cleanly through even the thickest, sweetest layer of commercial chocolate. Think about the sheer, unfathomable scale of the global agricultural and logistical operation required to make this single, ridiculous holiday possible every single year, because the numbers are absolutely mind-boggling. Over 80% of the entire world's commercial supply of almonds is grown in a single, highly specific geographic location, the Central Valley of California. This is a massive, flat, sun-drenched basin that features the exact, highly specific Mediterranean climate that these incredibly picky trees require to survive. Every single year during the dead of winter, something truly apocalyptic and historic happens in those massive orchards, something officially recognized as the single largest managed pollination simulation on the face of the earth. Because almond trees are completely incapable of pollinating themselves, farmers are forced to rent over 2 million individual beehives from commercial beekeepers all across the United States and truck them into the Central Valley in giant, buzzing, high-stakes highway convoys. That staggering figure represents over half of the entire living bee population of the North American continent, all systematically brought to one single valley to fly around frantically in the cold winter air and pollinate the billions of open almond blossoms, so that you can enjoy a crunchy snack with your chocolate 6 months down the line. If those millions of bees collectively decided to go on strike, or somehow forgot how to fly for a single week, the global chocolate almond industry would collapse into absolute immediate nothingness in a matter of weeks, and that would trigger a global economic shockwave throughout the entire food supply chain. The sheer overwhelming complexity of this interconnected global ecosystem completely forces us to reconsider the simple, thoughtless act of unwrapping a basic candy bar on July 8th. It can no longer be viewed as just a mindless act of casual consumption, but rather as a direct physical interaction with thousands of years of human trade networks, ancient tribal survival strategies, high-stakes military logistics, and incredibly complex modern agricultural engineering. Whether you choose to celebrate today by sipping a hot gourmet coffee infused with these rich flavors, or by sharing your newfound historical knowledge with friends who can truly appreciate these deep, hidden culinary connections, you are actively keeping a massive, multi-generational cultural tradition alive. So what is your absolute favorite way to consume this legendary, time-tested combination? Or do you prefer your chocolate completely smooth and uniform without any structural interruptions at all?